In today's video, I show you how to install and configure DelugeVPN. DelugeVPN is a lightweight, free, cross-platform BitTorrent client with VPN support that runs on Unraid. It has PIA VPN, or Private Internet Access VPN, support built right in. It's rock solid and reliable, lightweight, and it just works. Let's get DelugeVPN set up. Stick around to the end for a Deluge bonus. Before we get started, if you haven't signed up for our newsletter yet, I'll leave a link below. It's a monthly publication with unrated news, written out guides, and more. Sign up now so you don't miss out. And if you haven't joined our Discord server yet either, I'll leave a link for that as well. It's a growing community where you can ask questions and get answers, and hang out with like-minded people. Join us and we'll see you in there. On to Deluge. First thing we're going to have to do is make sure we have a proper directory structure. I'm going to be doing this following the Trash Guides folder structure. If you don't have that folder structure set up, I'll leave a link to a previous video that I did where I go through and set that up. Let's go over it real quick in a nutshell, and I'll show you basically what it is. So on your server, you're going to create a main data share, which is, in this case, data. Inside of that, you're going to have a few other folders. One for media, one for torrents, and one for Usenet. Inside of the media folder, you'll have subfolders for each media type that you have. The typical top three are movies, TV, and music. You can add in photos and documentaries and other things as you'd like, but those are the main three. Going back a level, under torrents, you're going to find the same categories created there, the same exact ones you have under the media folder, because they're going to need to move files from the torrent folder to the media folder. If you go back one level, back to data, the Usenet folder, you're going to have complete and incomplete in there. Incomplete is just an empty folder. And then under complete, you're going to have, once again, the same media types. If this is confusing at all, go watch the Trashing Unraid video to get your folder structure set up, and I'll leave the link in the description. All right, on to installation. First thing we're going to do is go to the Apps tab, and in the search box, we're going to search for DelugeVPN. And there you're going to find the BinHex DelugeVPN option. That's the one we're looking for. Go ahead and hit install. All right, the first thing we need to do is change our network type. Currently, it's on a bridge network, and we need to change this to our custom network, and I've named mine Alien Proxy. And if you don't have a custom network, let me show you how to do that real quick. Top right up here, you go to the little terminal button, click onto that. Then in there, you're going to type in Docker network create, then you type in the name that you'd like. So let's just go Alien. Hit enter, and then it'll create the network for you. Quick and easy. I already have one, so I'm just going to exit out, and we'll go back to the install. Next thing I like to do is make sure these port numbers are all clear. So I'll scroll all the way to the bottom, and I'll expand Show Docker Allocations, go back up, and then for Port Web Interface, double click on that port number, and I'm going to hit Control F on the keyboard, and they'll do the find feature, and it shows shows results right there. What we're looking for is any extras down here, and there are none, which is good. So that one's clear. Next one, the Proxy port 8118. Double click onto that. Control F again. Shows 3. There's one up here. 2 there. Those 3 are within this container, so we're good. Let's look for 9118 for the microsocks. Control F. 2. We're good. Scrolling down. The Deluge daemon. Look for that one. 2 again. We're good. And then path/config, that is where the configuration data is going to go, and that's in the app data folder. That is where we want it, so we're going to move on. Let me scroll down just a little bit. And then path/data. This is where the downloads are going to go, so we need to select the downloads folder. And since we're using the trash guide structure, we want to make sure that's under the data folder, so that's right there. So it should be /mnt/user/data. We'll click off to the side there. And then variable VPN enabled. We want that set to yes, because we're going to be using the PIA VPN. And speaking of the PIA VPN, if you're not a private internet access customer yet, go ahead and use the link in the description to get going. Using that link will give you an 83% discount. I've been using them for years, and I believe it's one of the best VPNs out there. That being said, let's move on. The variable VPN user. This is going to be your PIA VPN ID, your user ID. Copy mine, paste it in there. Then the variable VPN pass, that's the password that private internet access is going to provide for you. So I will copy that and paste that in. The next one down is the variable VPN provider. That is on PIA, and that's what we want. We want to leave it on them. Next option is variable VPN client. This option, OpenVPN, is kind of older and outdated. I'm going to drop down and select WireGuard. It's a more modern, faster VPN connection, and it's a lot easier to configure. Go ahead and scroll down some more. The variable strict port forward, we want that to be yes. It's going to enforce port forwarding. And for the variable enable proxy, we want that to be yes, because we want the VPN to be available on other platforms, other devices. This allows traffic to go through the VPN, such as other Dockers, and you can even do your desktop if you want. We can skip over the enable socks. We don't need that one. Socks user, password, we don't need those. Going down to the variable LAN network. This here is going to be the setting for your network. My network is the 10.0.0.0 network. Most popular one that I know of is right there listed, 192.168.1. whatever. If that fits for you, then you want to leave that. If yours is something different, like I said, mine's a 10.0 network, so it's going to look like that. The last digit is always going to be a 0, and then /24. The /24 is a CIDR notation, and it indicates that there's basically 255 addresses available in that group. That should be all we need there, so go ahead and scroll to the bottom and hit apply. And while it's installing, why don't you come join us in Discord? Like I said, links in the description. All right, once that's done, hit done. Yeah, that only took a minute or two. It wasn't too bad. Next, we're going to go to the Docker tab. Look through your list of Dockers, and you will find the BinHex DelugeVPN. First thing I'm going to do is go over to the right and turn on the auto start. Now, while Deluge is installed, it's not fully set up. We still have to set up the WireGuard settings. So let's stop the container so we can set that up. So we'll go over to the icon, drop down, and select stop. Now we're going to browse to our app data folder. So let me bring the File Explorer back up, and that's going to be located under your server's IP address, and then /app data. So for me, $10.0.0.11 /app data. Go ahead and go to that folder, look through the list, and you'll find your BinHex Deluge VPN. Go ahead and open that up. Look for a WireGuard folder. We're going to open that. In there, you'll find a wg0.conf file. We're going to edit that. I like to use Notepad++, but you can use whatever text editor you would like. So what we're looking for in here is, by default, the endpoint is sent to the Netherlands and in Amsterdam. That's where the endpoint for the VPN is. I'm not anywhere close to Amsterdam, so I'm going to change that to something a bit closer for me, which is going to be CA-Toronto. I'll get rid of Amsterdam. So whatever endpoint you are going to use, you're going to put that information where it says endpoint. Endpoint equals whatever the address is, .privacy.network:1337. And that endpoint that you select, it needs to be a location that allows port forwarding. And currently, there's no port forwarding available in the United States. Plenty of places outside of the United States, several in Canada. So I went through and filtered out the list because there's a big mess there. Cleaned it all up, put it together as a file. So I'll leave that in the description. You just click on the link and download the file, and then choose whatever endpoint works for you. So once you've got that edited, we're going to go ahead and close out of that. We need to save it. We can exit out of that file. Now let's go start the DelugeVPN container backup. So go back to your Docker tab. I will find the BinHex DelugeVPN again, drop down, and click start. And this container takes a moment or two to set up. It's got to go out and talk to the VPN and get all the stuff behind the scenes set up. So while that's starting up, if you're getting some value from this video, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe while you're down there. When it takes a moment of your time, it doesn't cost you anything. Let's see if Deluge is up. So I'm going to click on the icon for it and drop down and go to Web UI. Looks like it's up. We're prompted with the login, so the default password for this is going to be Deluge, D-E-L-U-G-E, all lowercase. All right, now that we're in here, we need to go to the preferences and set a few things up. So we're going to go to preferences. First one is download, so let's start there. Download to, right now it's on /data/incomplete. We're going to change that, and we're going to go /data/torrents. Then down under options, for pre-allocate disk space, we want that enabled. Unless you're running ZFS disks, then you don't want that option on. And if you don't know if you are or not, then you're probably not. What this option does here is this limits the amount of fragmentation and makes sure that you actually have drive space available before the file actually starts downloading. All right, next option is network. Then under network extras, we want to deselect UPnP and NAT PnP. And if you're using private trackers, then you would uncheck all of those. In these videos, I use public trackers, so I'm just going to disable the top two here. Next, we'll go down to encryption. So for incoming, we want enabled. Outgoing, we want enabled. And level, we want that set to full stream. Bandwidth is next. We want everything in here to be -1, and -1 means it's unlimited. So we're going to change this to -1. Maximum upload slots, -1. The maximum half open connections, this we want a bit larger. So I'm going to change this to like 125. And then the maximum connection attempts per second, once again, 125. And if it seems kind of laggy and slow with it, then you're going to go ahead and just lower those numbers a bit. Drop it down to like 100, try it. If it's still having some problems, go a little bit lower. You'll just keep adjusting it down until you get to your sweet spot. Everything else is good here. Let's jump over to interface. Here is where you set the web UI password. To change it, which I'd recommend, put in the old one, which is Deluge, once again, lowercase. put in your new password, confirm the password. Now we're going to go down to Q. Then under active torrents, the total, we're going to make this -1. Once again, unlimited. Downloading, you're going to set this number to whatever fits your connection bandwidth. And it's, once again, kind of a trial and error type of thing. So I'm just going to go to 25. And then seeding, I'm going to do -1 as well. And the seeding set to unlimited here is fine because that will be controlled with a different program for radar and sonar. Ignore slow torrents. We want that turned on. And what that does is if a file is like barely coming down or whatever, it's not going to really consider it to be an active downloading torrent file. So it'll just ignore it. It'll still download, but it won't count it towards the 25 that we've got set here. Then under seeding rotation, the share ratio, time ratio, and time. Trash guides recommend setting these all in the R apps, but for now, I'm just gonna leave it on the defaults and we'll go from there. So share ratio is 2, time ratio is 7, and the time itself is 180. And share ratio reached, we're gonna leave that unchecked. Next thing we're gonna jump down to is plugins, but before we go there, if you're finding some value in this, hit the like button to let me know. All right, in plugins, we're going to select label. I used to do extractor here as well, but I've since done another video on Extractor Plus. It's a little bit better. It unzips more files, deletes, cleans up things. And I'll leave a link to that video so you can check that out as well and get that set up for your system. So for now, just leave it on label. Or if you don't feel like watching another video, which is totally fine, just go ahead and select the extractor too. That's all we need here. So let's go to the bottom and hit apply. Great, password's changed. Then hit OK. So now let's go set up labels. On the left-hand side under filters, last option down here is labels. Go ahead and click on that plus to expand it. Your labels will be listed here. We don't have any yet, so I'm going to right click on labels and do add label. We need to give it a name. And in here, we're going to need to create labels for each media type. So I'm going to have one for movies, one for TV, one for music, that kind of stuff. You can create as many as you need, but I'm just going to do the top 3. So movies. And I keep all my folder structure in lowercase just so I know what they are. There's no confusion that way. So I'm going to keep the label lowercase as well. Hit OK. That one's created. Let's do it again. Add new label. TV. OK. Another new label. And let's call it music. Then hit OK. And note here that these categories, these labels here, need to match the categories within radar, sonar, LiDAR. And if you don't know where those are at, let me show you real quick. We'll jump over to radar. I'm going to go under settings, download clients, Deluge, and then the category is listed right there. So we just need to make sure those are the same. And if you haven't set up radar and sonar yet, then just note what you're creating them as so you can create them later on in those programs. Go ahead and cancel out of there. That's where it's going to be at. Let me go back to Deluge. So once you have all your labels created, we're going to need to go into each one of them and adjust a few things. So let's start with movies. We're going to right click on it and go to label options. We're going to go over to the folders tab and we're going to select apply folder settings. Then we're going to set the move completed files to go to where we want it to go into the movies folder. So it's going to be /data /torrents /movies. So movies, we're going to put it under the movies folder once it's downloaded. Once you've got that correct, go ahead and hit OK. Let's go to music and do the same thing. Right click, label options, folders, apply folder settings, move completed to /data /torrents /music, and OK. And the same again for TV. Right click, label options, folders, apply folder settings, move completed to /data /torrents /TV. Then hit OK. And if you have other categories, it's the same process. You just go through and add them to whatever folder you want it to go to. So now Deluge is all set up and protected by the PIA VPN. But when torrents are active, the mover that runs within Unraid is not going to be able to move the files because they're currently in use. Because right now we move them into the data torrents folder, but we need them to actually go to the data /media /wherever their home is. TV, music, movies, whatever the case may be. But since they're seeding and they're in use, it's not going to move them. So we're going to need to create a script that's going to pause the torrents, run the mover, and then resume the torrents afterward. But as this video is getting a bit long, I'm going to save that as a topic for another video, and I'll leave a link to that video in the description. But before we go, I promised you a bonus. Let me tell you about Delugesiphon. It's a web extension. It's kind of a nice little deal. I don't currently have it installed here, so let me show you how to do that. But before we get into installing it, let me tell you what it does. It's an extension within your web browser that allows you to find a magnet file for a torrent, click on it, and it will automatically grab that file and throw it into your Deluge client for you on your server. So you don't even have to have any torrent clients on your main machine, your main PC when you're using it. You can just click on the file, it throws it over to the Unraid server, downloads it there. It's magic. So let's get it installed. I'm going to open a new tab. I'm just going to search for Delugesiphon, Then I'm going to add extension just so I know I'm getting the actual extension. Delugesiphon Chrome Web Store. Perfect. Click onto it. There it is. Looks like a little funnel, kind of. Click Add to Chrome. We're going to hit Add Extension, and that'll download it and install it into your Chrome browser. If you're using a different browser, Firefox or something of that nature, they probably have it in their extension store as well. And as you probably noticed, this little puzzle piece here, it popped out, and then now it's gone. So let's click on that puzzle piece. We'll find the Delugesiphon. We'll pin it, so that way it stays out and we can see it all the time. Click off there. Find the Delugesiphon icon. We're going to right-click on it and go to Options. To get it set up, we need to put in the DelugeVPN URL. So it's the full URL address for it, which is going to be http:// and then the IP address of your server, -10.00.11. And then we're going to put a colon in and add the port number. So 8112 is the default port. If you'd changed yours to something else, then make sure you match the port number accordingly. Then the web UI password. If you change the password, you put in your new password, and I hope you did. Hope you changed it. If not, default password is Deluge. Then under notifications and input, you can just leave all that checked. And at the bottom, we're going to hit save. All right, so let's go test it out. Jump over to linuxmint.com/torrents. These are all torrent files, so let's just click on one. And you see it pops right out, saying it's added it. Let's go check into Deluge. And you'll see it's not here. That's because we're under the TV labels. So let's click on all to show all labels. And you'll see it's been added, and it's currently downloading. As I don't need the 32-bit version, I'm just going to cancel this. So remove, then I'm going to remove with data. That's the basics of DelugeVPN. So what VPN service do you use? Let me know in the comments. Be interested to find out. Like I said, I use private internet access, and I feel it's one of the best VPNs out there. And if you're not one of their customers yet, use the link below to get started. 83% off, it's a great deal. Combine that rock-solid VPN with Deluge, and you have a reliable torrent client and a secure VPN service. You can't go wrong. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Then check out one of these next. And I'll see you in the next one.